And now we're going to turn and look at the papers. Dipti is joining us here on set. Dipti, the papers starting to talk, aren't they, already about Ireland gearing up rather for that pivotal referendum on legalising abortion.
That's right. That vote takes place on Friday, and Irish citizens will be voting essentially not directly for legalizing abortion, but essentially to whether or not to make provisions for making it easier for women to get abortions in the country. And the secrecy and shame, that's what the Irish Times editors write today. Citizens will vote on repealing or not the 8th Amendment that essentially made abortion impossible by giving rights to the unborn fetus. That was 35 years ago. The Irish Times advocates a yes vote, saying, I quote, "It will reject a world view that relegates a woman's bodily autonomy below the right of the state to tell her it knows best." Now, from the Irish Independent, they're a little less subjective, I guess you could say. So basically, they say that if the majority votes no, then laws must be passed to allow abortion when a woman's life is at risk only. If the yes vote prevails, then laws should be passed to widen the scope of who can get an abortion. Either way, they say the will of the people must be respected.
Let's go to New Zealand now. A university is facing a backlash there over a decision to ban copies of a student magazine.
This is the University of Otago that removed and then tossed out copies of a student magazine called Critic, and in particular their latest edition dedicated to female menstruation. It's been dubbed by some as the, quote, period drama, and the university's been accused of censorship. Apparently the front cover of the paper was deemed inappropriate, as you see here from the New Zealand Herald paper, which has blurred the front page out. We are going to show you that front page, the supposedly offending image that's been up on the Facebook page of Critic magazine. You see it's an explicit illustration of female genitalia. The university's supervisor has profusely apologized and restated the university's commitment to freedom of speech. The students have written an article in Stuff, a New Zealand website, justifying their actions, basically saying that the issue aimed to challenge the taboo of female menstruation, which the university ultimately played into, thus highlighting their point in the first place.
Now, the American Football League has issued a new ultimatum to players. This is, of course, over their kneeling during the national anthem, well, some of them anyway. Colin
Kaepernick in particular, he's the one who really spearheaded the whole kneeling, taking the knee during the national anthem last year to protest police brutality, among other things. The NFL has now ruled on it with essentially a ban on kneeling. Players must stand during the national anthem or be fined for kneeling, or alternatively, they say, stay in the locker room during the national anthem.
A lot of reaction?
Well, the New York Times scornfully says in its editorial today that rather than showing a little backbone and supporting the right of athletes' peaceful protest, the NFL capitulated to a president who relishes demonizing black athletes. The Washington Post deplores the new ruling, saying it essentially threatens players into showing respect, forcing them to simulate adoration, which kind of negates the whole point of showing respect.
Some of the conservative media, though, are delighted by this.
Well, the conservative media really slammed Kaepernick's gesture, saying it was disrespectful to the U.S., to the nation, to the military. Not a surprise, and that this writer for Fox is delighted, saying, finally, we get our NFL back, hailing this decision to let players who don't stand for the anthem, quote, sulk in the locker room.
And we're going to stay with Donald Trump for this last story. A New York federal judge has ruled that he cannot block people on Twitter.
Well, I'm not sure if you've ever offended the President of the United States on Twitter. These people have. Let's show you a few tweets. Yeah. These users were blocked by Donald Trump for their comments. This guy saying, Kofifi, the same guy who doesn't proofread his Twitter, handles the nuclear button, while this rocket scientist, no less, tweeted a casual joke about Kofifi, saying, I heard Ben & Jerry's has a new flavor, but it's mostly just nuts. These tweets got them banned blocked from Trump's Twitter account. Now, a federal judge has ruled he can't block users because his account is an official government account, and thereby preventing users from accessing that account is actually a violation of the First Amendment. Or as this blog site, The Root, says, he can't block people on Twitter because he's a big baby who can't take criticism.
Oh, we can say what we want then.
For the moment.
Dipti Laurent of France 24.